We have heard today of another cladding fire involving a block of flats, this time in Wembley in northwest London. This broke out yesterday afternoon. Everyone in that block on Elm Road was able to get out uninjured. 5 adjoining blocks were also evacuated as a precaution. The Fire Brigades Union has reacted somewhat angrily to this today, saying that firefighters have once again been called to a cladding fire which could have resulted in tragedy. And they say decades of deregulation have created unnecessary risks for residents and firefighters and have put homes and lives at risk. This, of course, coming after the Grenfell Tower fire of June 2017. The government has said tonight its thoughts are with the affected residents, and they are in close contact with the London Fire Brigade, the council and other agencies on the ground. And they also say that they will be working with the relevant agencies to urgently understand what happened and why in this incident. Let's speak on LBC News to Jennifer Frame, who is a campaigner with the group End Our Cladding Scandal. Thank you for joining us on LBC News tonight. Obviously, it's coming up for 7 years, isn't it, since the Grenfell Tower fire. Your reaction to what we heard happened in Wembley last night?
Well, first of all, my thoughts are also with the residents of this building, but obviously they need a lot more than thoughts. And we need to do more than just urgently understand. We need to urgently fix buildings that are unsafe. So I think as soon as I saw the number of firefighters and the number of fire engines that had gone to that fire, it was clear that it was not just a standard single flat fire, that there was something more serious going on. And I think you could see from a lot of the images that there was very fast, rapid fire spread. So regardless of the investigation and whether it reveals how the source of the fire and how that started, the concerning point is obviously that the materials on the building have allowed that fire to spread rapidly. And that is what has allowed it to spread from flat to flat, which does not meet building regulations. And 6.5 years after Grenfell, it's shocking that we've still got so many buildings in this condition.
I mean, action was promised and was promised quickly, wasn't it? Are you disappointed that we are still in this situation?
I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, as our campaign group deals with thousands of buildings across the country which are in a similar situation, the government estimated, in fact, it was in speaking to LBC around about 18 months ago, Michael Gove estimated that there were 10,000 buildings across the country, 11 metres or higher, so mid-rise or high-rise, that needed work on the external wall and the cladding. There's actually been 800 have been fixed. That's all out of 10,000. And we're 6.5 years into this crisis. So while there's been slight sort of signs of progress in the last year or two, some more developers have been brought on board to commit to fixing buildings and so on. But the scale of the work still to do is enormous. And we think the urgency has not gone away. At the moment, this looks like it's going to be several decades until all buildings are fixed. And that's just unconscionable.
Is there a problem, the fact that you've potentially got lots of different parties involved here? You may have the owner of a building, you've obviously got the tenants in the building, you might have local government involvement, developers, that kind of thing. Potentially there's lots of people who I guess are, for the most part, saying, this isn't my problem, I don't have to pay for it, it's your problem.
Yes, I think that's you've hit on one of the key problems here, which is there's a lot of finger pointing between the different parties, and a lot of time is going into identifying who's liable and who's to blame. You know, we've always called in the campaign for the government to fund the safety of buildings first, pay up front, make sure the buildings are fixed, and argue about these costs later. And today, the housing association involved in this building, Octavia Housing, in their statement, they've said that, you know, they're in negotiations with the developer and their insurer, and there's an arbitration process. And I think that underlines part of the problem. We're going through all this legal wrangling over who's to blame and who's to pay without putting the safety of people first.
Do you fear that we might see another disaster?
Well, there's always that risk. I'm obviously pleased to see that everyone was able to evacuate last night, but that took 125 firefighters to ensure that happened. And all it takes is For example, in that building, there were families with young children, there were vulnerable people and disabled people, from what I understand. All it would take is one person not able to exit the building. So we just can't risk that. We should be working at pace to get these buildings fixed and dealing with the liability later.
Jennifer Frame from End Our Cladding Scandal, thank you for joining us on LBC News.
LBC News.